HarlequinAudio is proud to bring you One Blazing Night by Leigh, a Harlequin Blaze novel, performed by Craden, and Seducing the Best Man by Sasha Summers, a Harlequin Blaze novel, performed by Alexander Cendese. One Blazing Night by Leigh. 1. As the music from her headphones blasted the soundtrack from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Samantha O'Connel narrowed her eyes in her attempt to read a note left by her newest part-time employee, Tina Albert. Tina was an MIT student, just like the other 6 people Sam employed at her company, SOC Electronics. Tina was cute, bright, witty, completely dedicated to doing a good job, and she had terrible handwriting. It wasn't her fault, really. By the time Tina was born, there were millions of teenagers who hardly ever needed to write. They came of age at the dawn of smartphones, but Tina would have to learn to write more clearly. Sam rubbed her eyes and took another look. Maybe she could have read the chicken scratches if she hadn't worked until midnight. She'd skipped dinner and hadn't looked up until just past midnight. Again. She was getting old. At 20, sleep had been optional, but at 29, there were only so many nights she could get 5 hours and feel refreshed the next day. She certainly needed to be alert. The note was a reminder that the new hard drive had been delivered to the smart apartment. Sam didn't have time to install it, and wouldn't for at least a week. Neither would Clark, though she wouldn't have asked him to anyway. The prototype apartment was her baby. She'd bought the building in Boston's financial district with her personal money and designed all the electronics herself. Luckily, the new drive wasn't actually necessary for the apartment to function, but it would help with the intermittent sensor problems she'd noted on her logs. So far, the apartment was a raging success, but needed some refinements. No paying guests had stayed there yet, only her friends and family. Each one had given her a critique and made suggestions, some of them really good, but she was too busy for a hobby that was so complex. Sadly, that was the only kind of hobby she liked. Well, except for gaming, which was more part of her DNA than a hobby. Clark, who'd been her assistant since her senior year at MIT, had told her they needed to hire people to help with administrative duties, man the booths at trade shows, and, more important, take over some of the testing of new parts and equipment, the writing of instruction manuals, and the handling of customer support lines, which meant whomever they hired had a steep learning curve from day one. She'd always hated delegating, but when Clark pointed out the new employees would be taking over things both of them hated to do, she jumped all over it. With the exception of Tina, the students all worked on the second floor, under Clark's supervision, so that Sam had minimal contact with them. It wasn't that she was a snob, she just wasn't the most social person. She'd started working on her own in high school, and with one notable exception, her solo work habits had solidified at MIT. By the time she'd graduated, she'd decided, against her parents' firm objections, not to accept the invitations to join Google or Apple or Microsoft, and to just do what she liked. So she'd started SOC Electronics, not only her initials, but also the acronym of a computer miracle device called the System on Chip, which integrated all the components of a computer into a single chip. She'd become a corporation before she'd turned 20. It had been difficult to work with Clark in the beginning, but now he was like another pair of her own hands. In the end, Sam was in charge of the tech creation and problem-solving. Clark was in charge of the rest. Tina was a one-off. She was really smart, but damn it, she was still afraid to jump in during brainstorming sessions. Sam sighed. She was probably being too harsh on the girl. Tina had a lot of potential, and in time, Sam believed she'd turn out to be a real asset. If Sam had got enough sleep last night, she probably wouldn't be feeling so cranky. Lesson? For God's sake, go to sleep at a sane hour, even if it meant not
Sample complete. Ready to continue?